So it gives me incredible pleasure to be joined here by one of the world's greatest producers, Jellybean Benitez, responsible for perhaps most of the songs I grew up to. So welcome to Manchester.
Thank you for having me.
And I believe this is your first time here in this fabulous city, at least to play.
To DJ, yes, it's the first time.
Well, we are glad to have you. And I think the thing that probably is on everybody's mind is, why are you called Jellybean? Is it because you love jelly beans? Before you answer that, it just so happens that I hope you say yes, because I've actually got you some all the way from America. Jelly beans, obviously. Jelly bellies.
Yes.
Do you like these?
Yes, of course I do.
Really?
So I got the nickname from my initials, JB.
Uh-huh.
And the saying, do you know what I mean, Jelly Bean, from my younger sister, Debbie.
Your younger sister, who I believe you used to borrow all her records, and that's kind of what got you into the whole music thing?
Yeah, I would borrow a turntable, because I needed two of them to DJ, and I only had one, much to her chagrin. And she had a lot of records as well, so I would convince her to spend her money on buying records that I needed.
Well, that's a very, very persuasive. I love that. And you grew up in the South Bronx then, back in sort of 50s, 60s?
Late
60s?
60s.
And we sort of see all that from the TV over here. What was that like growing up in? What was the sort of area?
Well, you know, it was when the Bronx was burning. There was a lot of crime, a lot of drugs. I was surrounded by it. Most of my friends aspired to be drug dealers or bouncers or pimps. And I decided to be a DJ.
That was a good call, right? Good call. And in fairness, you've had some incredible success, but looking back, everything does seem to go to this whole time when you stumbled across a certain girlfriend, I believe, for a couple of years. And you tell us a little bit about that, because I mean, I've had some hot girlfriends, but I think you win.
I actually met Madonna when I was a DJ at the Funhouse. It was quite common for record labels to bring by new artists, and that's where we met. And she asked me if I would be interested in remixing a song called Physical Attraction. And I did, and I had already done a bunch of records, and then we became really close friends.
Very close, apparently. Well, sure. And in fairness, you were responsible for what I think was probably some of her best ever tracks. You know, Like a Virgin, Material Girl, all those early tracks, Borderline, which had a real edge. They didn't seem to have that sort of commercial element to them. There was a real edge, don't you think?
Yeah, it was really a combination of soul and pop at the same time. I remember when people first heard the name Madonna, and then also first heard the songs, they thought she was African American. They didn't know she was a white girl from Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, incredible, and such a massive influence. And not only Madonna, I mean, you have worked with all the big names over the last decades, you know, Michael Jackson, you know, some of the New Order. Let's go from Michael Jackson to New Order. I'm in Manchester, we can do that. And so it's been an incredible ride, and you've been involved in so much production, but a lot of remixing as well. And where do you think your heart lies? Is it in actually producing stuff or the remix?
Actually, my heart really lies in playing music, DJing. It was through that I learned about music, but more importantly, I thought what moved people and what made people stop dancing.
Yeah.
And I love DJing. Given the choice, it really depends on the records. You know, I like creating stuff from scratch with a blank canvas, but I also look at the opportunity to take someone else's work and hopefully make it better. I mean, there have been instances where I've done stuff that people actually hated, but then went on to be big records. So
you're going to tell us who? We need to know the gossip.
I did a song called If You Love Someone, Set Them Free by Sting. He absolutely hated it. Record company loved it. They eventually talked him into putting it out, and the song became a big hit. But I mean, that's one example. You know, I did a song by Billy Joel, Tell Her About It. He said, I don't understand it, but it makes me dance, so I guess we should put it out.
Fantastic. And it's fair to say you are now traveling the globe. You've just been over in the States. You were in Liverpool. You're out to New York, living in Florida. So your whole DJ sets are in great demand right now. And so are you spending more time DJing than you are actually in the studio?
Yes, spending a lot more time DJing, but it's been great because I'm really getting to see globally what's happening musically, and it's, you know, moving me closer back into the studio. You know, I go in and out of making records, and I spend, you know, enormous amount of days and hours working on things, and then it's nice to take a step back and then listen to what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, and so, and really interestingly, then, so when you are travelling around, what sort of influences, what sort of trends do you start to see at the moment that's maybe big for next year?
It seems everything that's sort of has this South African house vibe to it. It's almost like a skip in the groove, and it seems to be working. It has been for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years in the States, but now I see it, you know, going across Europe.
Okay, that's really interesting. And obviously, you, without any doubt, you are educated and allowed to say those things, because you have been at house music since the absolute beginning. And I mean, most people that are watching this that know of you will want to know something about those early days back in New York, and what it was like when that whole music just started to erupt onto the scene.
You know, since I was talking about this the other day, it wasn't even called house music. And the stuff that I played at the Funhouse wasn't even called freestyle or electro beat. It was just sort of new and different. Luckily, I had a residency at the Funhouse. We're a very open-minded audience, and I played 15-hour sets on Saturday, straight through. And when you have 3,500 people dancing and doing stuff to keep them awake, it was a great place to try things. Sort of the way car companies use test roads for cars, I was able to use the dance floor with music. And having such a long set that ended at 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon the next day, during those early morning hours between 7 and 11 a.m., I got to play a lot of things that you traditionally wouldn't hear and experiment, but there was really no place else for 2,500 people to go and dance at that time of day.
And we talk a lot about culture and the movement and where the trends are, but you know, from that early time that you saw with that incredible melting pot of talent, and so much has come out of that, do you see anything moving around the globe now where you see those pockets, those hot spots of raw talent, new music, new vibes emerging?
Yeah, the only thing I'm really seeing is what's coming out of South Africa, because it's sort of, I don't know if they got sort of late in the game in house, and how it's evolved into EDM, and how they sort of had their own spin on it, but it seems to be working. I mean, every time I play one of those records by a completely unknown artist that I can't even pronounce the first, let alone the last name, it's
it pops.
It just works.
Yeah.
And then people come over and ask me what it is, and I'm like, I don't know, and they think I'm lying. I'm like, well, here's the title. It's in some language, I don't know, and look at the name. So they said, you just take a picture of it.
So we're down here at Boogie in Wonderland Impossible tonight. Are we going to get any flavour of that new South African stuff?
Probably not. I'm going to play a lot of disco, and
cool.
You know, it's where, you know, I was playing disco before it was even called disco. I've been a DJ now for over 40 years. So, you know, it allows me to dig deep into my vaults and find things, and it's really interesting to see this sort of resurgence of disco on a global level. I always thought it was great music, and people sort of try to write it off, and it seems like, you know, the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings are into it now, and it's fun. I mean, it's happy. I mean, most of the songs are about, you know, get up, get down, let's boogie, let's dance, but it's fun and happy, and I think people are really looking for an escape when they come to the dance floor, and those lyrics allow them to sing along and sort of forget everything that's going on in their life that may be troubling them, and for a few moments escape and have a lot of fun.
I guess that's why you probably like the brand Boogie in Wonderland. Yes. Then, and because you've been over to Ibiza, you're in
Yes.
Leeds on Saturday, Manchester Day with that brand, so it's that whole vibe of music that you're really loving, yeah?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun last year, and a lot of times this year in Ibiza, and now I get to come back to where it started, and I'm looking forward to playing tonight and tomorrow night.
Well, we are looking forward to having you. So if you aren't aware, Boogie in Wonderland happens here once a month at Impossible. Top name DJs, as you say, having the time of their lives with a dance floor and a crowd that likes to go on into the early hours, just like the good old days. Yeah. So make sure you stay tuned and visit Mad About Manchester website to get more details.